Has it ever happened to you that somebody asked you a question, everyone looked at you, and in that moment you freeze? You know that you're intelligent, you know that you have ideas, but what happens in that moment? And then, while driving back home, that magical answer suddenly appears. Most people think that this happens because they are bad at conversations, while the truth is something else. They freeze because in that moment, the brain is trying to do three jobs simultaneously. It's trying to think, it's trying to monitor itself, and it's also trying to predict how others people will judge. Brain is great at doing one of those things, but not all three. So the brain doesn't run out of intelligence, it runs out of processing capability. And that's why that answer appears magically while you're driving back home. The answer wasn't missing, your thinking capability was. Today, I'm not only going to give you 5 sentences that can help you recover in communication, but I'm also going to teach you psychology behind communication recovery, why brain freezes, and how confident communicators recover without panicking. Stay till the end. The last one completely changed the way I communicate. Hi, I'm Rupali, and I help students, leaders, and professionals to become confident communicators. If you struggle with public speaking, interviews, conversations, and expressing yourself clearly, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Before we talk about what to say, let's understand what happens inside the brain. The biggest myth of communication is that most confident communicators know what to say. Well, they don't, but they just don't panic when they don't have the answers. Most people experience what psychologists say cognitive overload. You're listening, you're thinking, analyzing yourself, trying to look confident. Every one of those processes is fighting for the same mental resources. Working memory gets overloaded. Your brain decides to choose a survival mode. And then you go blank. Not because you don't have any ideas, just because your brain is overloaded. The solution is to learn how to reduce that cognitive pressure. And that's what exactly these sentences do. They are not conversation tricks, they are recovery tricks. Every confident communicator instinctively follows these three psychological principles. First, they buy themselves thinking time. Second, they try to redirect attention away from themselves. Third, they keep the conversation emotionally safe. Every sentence that I'm going to share with you follows one of these principles. And once you understand these principles, you will never have to memorize the sentences. Sentence number one. That's an interesting question. Most people think that this sentence is simply being polite. It isn't, it's a cognitive reset. Here's why. The brain usually needs a couple of seconds to organize a thoughtful response. These few seconds feel painfully long, only to the speaker, not anybody else. To everyone else, it feels completely normal. By saying that's an interesting question, you're not buying time for conversation, you're buying time for your brain. Most confident communicators do this constantly, and most of the people never notice. Sentence number two. Let me think about that for a second. One of the biggest myths of communication is that the confident communicators answer immediately, while often the opposite is true. People who appear intelligent pause the most. Why? Because confidence isn't communicated through speed, it's communicated through composure. The willingness to pause tells your audience that I'm thoughtful enough to think before I speak. That's much more stronger than just rushing to fill the silence. Sentence number three. Can you tell me a little bit more about what you mean? One of the most underrated sentences. When anxiety increases, your attention moves inward. You start monitoring yourself. You start thinking that am I making sense? Am I sounding stupid? Psychologists often refer to this narrowing of attention as cognitive tunneling. One of the fastest way to break it? Curiosity. The moment you genuinely become curious about the other person, the attention moves outwards. And you know what happens next? Anxiety decreases. Because you're no longer performing, you're participating. Sentence number four. I'd like to think about it for a moment. This is especially great for interviews and professional conversations. Many people think that taking time to think make them look incompetent. In reality, a thoughtful response increases your perceived credibility because rushed answer feel rehearsed. Thoughtful answer, feel genuine. Always remember, silence is usually uncomfortable for the speaker, not for the listeners. Sentence number 5. Can I be honest with you? Now, this is my most favorite sentence and I use it most often. You know the reason? Because it changes the emotional tone of the conversation. When you say, "Can I be honest?" people usually lean in. Why? Because honesty signals vulnerability, and vulnerability increases the credibility. Instead of trying to sound perfect, you sound human, and people connect with humans, not performances. None of these 5 sentences make you magically better speaker. All they do is reduce that cognitive load. And that is the real lesson. Confident communicators know how to recover when they don't have any answers. And that's a skill, not a personality trait. And like every other communication skill, it can be learned. Now, I would like to hear from you. Which sentence are you going to use when you are cognitively loaded? And if you want to master communication skills, follow Speak with Rupali. See you in the next video.